we will reconvene the regular meeting. It's 6 o'clock, so we'll get started. I see no delegations here tonight, so we'll move on to the council meeting minutes for approval. And the motion before you is that the following minutes be adopted. And that is the regular council meeting minutes of February 10th, 2025. Councillor Martin and Councillor Wilson, all those in favor? That was carried, thank you. So resolutions to be considered from the February 10th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting to be considered for adoption, and the resolution is before you there, and the following item considered and received for information at the February 10th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting to be adopted is the Bylaw Services Monthly Report. Councillor Butler, is there a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Wilson, all those in favor? That was carried, thank you. And we don't have any resolutions tonight, do we? Okay, thank you. So we have a couple of reports and meeting minutes from council committees. And the resolution is that council adopt the following minutes and recommendations within the official community committee meeting, the draft minutes. I don't believe there's any council liaison reports. No, okay. So the motion is before you. Is there any questions or comments before we go for the vote? No? Okay, just a quick comment on the official community plan committee meeting. The draft minutes, it was a good meeting. I mean, we're going through the policies and, you know, checking the wording and getting still some really good ideas from the committee. We do have another meeting planned, I believe, for February the 28th to go into a group and have a, you know, a stronger conversation about some of the items that were discussed. So that's my report for the official community plan. So all those in favor of the resolution? Sorry, is there someone to make a motion? Oh, thank you, Councillor Martin. All those in favor? That was carried, thank you. Regional District of Kootenay Boundary Report, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, through the chair. On behalf of council, I attended the following meetings. On Wednesday, February the 12th, there was an RDKB Utilities meeting via Teams. We reviewed work plans and 5-year financial plans for the following services: Big White Streetlight Service, Beaverdale Streetlight Service, Beaver Valley Water Service, Christina Lake Water Utility Service, Columbia Gardens Water Utility Service, Rivervale Water and Streetlight Utility Service, East End Regional Sewer Service, Oasis and Rivervale Sewer Service, and the Rosslyn Warfield Dual Benefiting East End Regional Service. On Wednesday, February the 12th, I attended an RDKB board meeting via Teams. We had a delegation from the Kootenay Conservation Program. Kendall Benesh, local conservation fund manager, introduced the concept of a local conservation fund, a dedicated funding mechanism for projects used by some local governments. The KCP supports conservation efforts and expertise on private lands. Funds for the program would be raised through parcel or property taxes and distributed to eligible nonprofits and First Nations through a review process involving technical experts and elected officials. Grow and Connect, the RDKB approved funding of $20,000 for the Grow and Connect Kootenay Boundary Distribution Pilot Program, with $10,000 to come from the East End Economic Development Service and $10,000 to come from the Boundary Economic Development Service. RDKB Emergency Preparedness Service. The RDKB will receive $230,000 from the Columbia Basin Trust to undertake projects that will enhance the service that are not core funded responsibilities of the RDKB. Community Works Fund, or the gas tax application for the Grand Forks Skate Park Committee. The board approved the allocation of gas tax funding of $30,000 from Electoral Area D, rural Grand Forks, for the costs associated with phase 2 of the revitalization project. Grants and aids were approved for the following: Electoral Area A, Beaver Valley Mayday Society, 5,000. JL Crow Secondary School Fallen Firefighter Scholarship, $1,500. Trail and District Chamber of Commerce, Village of Fruitville, Business After Business, $500. Electoral Area B, Lower Columbia Old Glory, JL Crow Secondary School, 2 scholarships for $4,000. West Kootenai Smoke and Steel Auto Club, there's a storage trailer, 2,600. Electoral Area C, Christina Lake, the Christina Lake Stewardship Society, Lake Cleanup Day, $2,000. Grand Forks Trap Club, bathroom construction, $2,000. Area E, Big White, BC Snowboard Association, 2025 FIS Paris Snowboard World Championships, $5,000. On Tuesday, February the 18th, I attended an RDKB East End Services Committee meeting in Trail. We had a delegation from Kootenai Columbia Trail Society. Stuart Spooner provided their annual report. We had a presentation by Bill Cody on the Beaver Creek watershed model. He had a 3D model of the system, which was really interesting to show all the creeks that fed the system. We had a delegation from a Janelle resident, Andrew Espenheim, regarding his opposition to the proposed closure of Fire Station 373 Janelle. We reviewed work plans and 5-year financial plans for the following services: Regional Parks and Trails, Electoral Area B, Lower Columbia Old Glory; Culture, Arts and Recreation for the Lower Columbia; Noxious Weed Control, Specified Area A, Columbia Gardens; Victim Services, East End Economic Development, East End Cemeteries, East End Transit, and Kootenai Boundary Regional Fire Rescue. Today, Councillor Benson and myself, along with CEO McClure and Mayor Jones, attended the Community Safety Task Force meeting right here in the committee room. It was attended by 22 committee members. We had Alicia Anderson, who is a registered nurse. She's the SAFE coordinator. So that's Sexual Assault Forensic Examination Coordinator for Kootenai Boundary. She provided a program update. Sergeant Lysenowicz provided an RCMP update. Mayor Jones and Tammy McLean, excuse me, provided an update on the recent activation of the warming shelter. There's a discussion about the safe handling kits. Now, the safe handling kits are the kits that are, I think they're basically housed at the library, and Sam gives them out, and they're boxes that have the tools that you require to go clean up the drug paraphernalia around town. So there's 8 out of 10 that have been given out so far. Chief Dan Derby talked about chimney and encampment along the Columbia River. And I think, Councillor Benson can help me out on this one. What he said was that we can't take away anybody's who doesn't have a house, who doesn't have a place to live. We can't take away their form of heating, especially in this cold weather. Pretty well.
And that risk of fire was low.
And the risk of fire is low. Yeah. Future agenda items for the committee. They're going to have a presentation at the next meeting by Carlene Pierce, who's the excuse me, the RDKB Emergency Program and Fire Smart Coordinator regarding Fire Smart programs. That'll be in the March meeting, which will be on March 24th. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any questions for Councillor Martin? Okay. We will move on to other reports, and I do have a report regarding a submission of the AKBLG resolution. Has council all had a chance to read the resolution that we're putting forward? Okay, I'm really excited about this because it was really good collaboration with the other 2 mayors, the Mayor of Castlegar and the Mayor of Nelson. We did meet a couple of times to go over this, and you know, I just took all the information that we talked about and we put it into a resolution. I sent it out to both Nelson and Castlegar, and both of the cities councils have approved to have their name put on this. So I'm really excited about this. Just trying to bring in a different awareness of what's happening in our region, and I think it's a good resolution. I'm really excited about it. So I don't know if council has any questions or concerned about it before.
Just to
Counselor.
Just a point of order, we will need a resolution to submit this to the KPMG.
Yes, yeah, so that's what I'm looking for.
Just a comment, and I just wanted to say thank you for the efforts that you put into it, because I know it's taken a lot of time and the collaboration you put in with the other mayors, so thank you, James.
Thank you, Counselor Butler. Okay, is there someone that is willing to make the motion? Counselor Martin and Counselor Wilson has seconded. All those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. We also have some correspondence, for information from the Lenina Shelter Services and Statistics. Lots of good information in there, lots of good positive changes, in that report, and, I think they're just doing some really good stuff, and my understanding is that there's been, 8 people that have left the shelter and moved into housing, like permanent housing. So that's the kind of resolution that we wanna see from the shelter, right? And, I think I reported out last time how I accidentally, dropped in, to, take a tour of it. And yeah, it's just a really comfortable, warm atmosphere in there, and people are just seem to be thriving, so, I think that the report shows exactly what's going on there in that shelter. Okay, correspondence for action. So I need a motion for that,
Just a
sorry.
motion to receive.
And I
the
also,
correspondence
yeah,
from-
need a motion to receive, the correspondence from the Lenina Shelter to be received for information. Thank you, Counselor Butler. All those in favor? Thank you, that was carried. And then we have, some correspondence for action. It's the BC Farmers Market. Resolution, before you is that council consider and resolve that council provide a letter in support of continued and expanded funding for the BC Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program. Thank you, Councilor Benson, seconder, Councilor Wilson, and all those in favor. Thank you. So that was carried. So I do have, sorry, you guys, a report tonight, quite an extensive report. That I wanted, there's lots of information that I wanted to share with council tonight. And the first one is, my first meeting was a supportive housing meeting on, February the 11th. And at that meeting, we talked about the process for deactivation of the shelter, which we did on February the 18th. And, we knew that, due to the weather prediction that was coming up, that was going to happen. So the deactivation of the shelter actually went very smoothly. Took a couple of days to pack everything up, but I did share this with the Community Safety Task Force, but I also wanted to share this information with the community. And it's some final stats and about the warming center and how things went for the 18 days that they were open. And the opening night was January 17th. Oh, and as I said, it was deactivated, the morning of February 15th. And the longest activation period was for 12 consecutive nights. And we had extended hours for the last 4 nights from 6 p.m. until 10 a.m. due to the unusual weather patterns being colder during the daytime. The daytime temperatures actually were colder than the evening ones. So it didn't make sense to send them back out into the cold when we just brought them in from those temperatures. So BC Housing agreed to the change in the hours of operation, which was really, really beneficial. There was an average of 28 people per night and a total of 1,224 visits over the 18 nights. And on average, there were 7 females and 21 males per night. The busiest night they had was 38 people that made 89 visits throughout the evening. And between 6 to 8 people were known to have disabilities. and two people were known to be Indigenous heritage. The youngest person that, used the shelter was 22 years of age, and the oldest was 75 years old. There was 2 ambulance calls, 2 RCMP calls, and the center was staffed with 30 individuals over 18 days with a combination of paid and volunteer hours. So a lot of work went into that shelter, and a lot of good was done. And as I said to council, you know what, we made a difference. We saved lives and we made a difference. I also had on February 12th, a Trail Health and Environment Committee meeting. And the committee members are representatives from Tech, Trail Operations, Interior Health, BC Ministry of Environment, the United Steelworkers, and several community members also participate. And as the chair of the Trail Health and Environment Committee, I just wanted to acknowledge the community's strong participation in the wide area remediation program consulting meetings. A lot of the hard work of the Trail Health and Environment Program team did to make sure that the presentation was clear and easy to understand was really commendable. And as a committee, during our discussion, we wanted to make sure that people in the community were getting the right information, and it wasn't, you know, too overwhelming with information. And they did a really good job of presenting it. So some of the key takeaways from that meeting was to continue with the community engagement on air quality, health and environmental initiatives, and ongoing efforts to improve communication about what the Trail Health and Environment Program, what its impact is on the community. And we are planning for the future to share, to have more knowledge sharing events with the public and reach out to the public more. And so the next meeting that we will be having is in February, I believe it's February 22nd. Another really important, now this has the information on it from the Border Mayors Alliance. And so this is my 3rd meeting attending this, and there was 63 other mayors online, all from the border communities, well, yeah, along the border. A lot of rural communities, much like ours, and bigger communities as well. And Mayor Drew Dilkins, City of Windsor, chairs the committee. And what we're actually really focusing on is the strategic advocacy for funding and long-term sustainability. They believe from the information that they've gathered and the work that they've been doing, that we will be under a threat of terrorists probably for 6 months. So they've gone out and hired someone to be able to help us with our oh my goodness. Oh, sorry, you got it. Be able to help us with our campaign and have speaking notes for us, and, you know, directed to our small community of the City of Trail. So, I think it's going to be really beneficial, and funding for it is based on the amount of people that you have in your community. You're based on your population. So ours looks like it will be around $400 for 6 months of advocacy. So really looking forward to working with this group. I think they have a lot of good information to share with us, and and being able to bounce ideas off of, you know, somebody that has a little bit more knowledge about what's happening than, you know, I do myself. I think it's going to be a lot of work in the next couple of months, but it's something that we, you know, definitely have to do. And this group is going to, it's basically to support small businesses and small communities. It's going to ensure that border towns' economic challenges remain in the public eye. You know, we'll constantly be notified of any changes of the tariffs that are coming down, if that's what happens. And it wants to put pressure on government officials to support, border businesses, which I think is really important because, you know, both sides of the border do rely on each other for business and economic development. And it's going to help businesses and local leaders communicate a unified message. I know I have a lot of information here, but I think I gave you a better idea of what this is for and what it's going to do. So again, really looking forward to be a part of this. Yeah, lots of things happening right now. It's been a very, very busy couple of weeks. Just one other thing I wanted to mention is that I did attend the Communities in Bloom meeting. Thank you, Nick, for giving me that information. I can say that the Communities in Bloom is still looking for a way to find a way forward, you know. They want to know what the committee is going to look like going forward, how we get the funding. And thankfully Keith Smythe has joined the committee to help bring some ideas forward. So we'll see what that looks like in the next couple of weeks. I think we have another meeting coming up in March as well. Last but not least, I did want to mention that council was invited to the Glen Murray School, and we were invited to Miss Wakeland's class. And those kids were absolutely amazing. They were so cute. They had plans of what we should do in the city of Trout with our buildings, and it was so much fun. They have a plan for a building that has a trampoline in it, you know, that you can jump to each trampoline. Somebody had an idea to have a cat cafe where you could bring the cat in and have coffee, or you could bring in a stray cat, or they had cats there for you. It was really cute. So for the blue building, this is the one that amazed me the most. They had a 4-level play area. You know, the trampolines, you can do rock climbing, you could do that, but flip it over the other side and it was affordable housing. It was a great idea. It had 6 floors of affordable housing. And they also had figured out what the rent would be. They were telling us how to figure out what the rent would be per month. It was great. It was just a great class and it was lots of fun to visit with them. And I did bring their plans home, Councillor Benson, so we could look at them for the official community plan. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I know that was long and winded and just a couple of busy weeks and lots of information to share with you, but that's my report. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Just going back to the emergency warming center. I've been asked, and I think I'll ask it on behalf of the constituency, what was the role of the mayor's office in setting up a temporary emergency warming center and its day-to-day operations? I know you were involved in it, but maybe you could just give us an idea of what your involvement was.
Well, I can tell you at the beginning, when we first opened up the emergency weather shelter, the municipality was invited to be a part of it, along with the regional district. So the regional district, through my office as the mayor, we worked together to make the contract up for the shelter. Once that was done, I also worked with the regional district to set the target temperature for when we could activate the shelter and deactivate it. And BC Housing sits on that too, so that that's where we get our funding. So that was my role. And at the time when we first did it, we had to have that shelter up and running within a week. So it was a lot of work put together. And I think because we had the official beginning of the shelter, like the plans and the contracts and all the information, this year it just kind of started from there. We started earlier, started planning earlier, getting everything in place earlier. And yeah, that was my role. I mean, in a short little.
Okay, thank you.
And you know what? I probably spend more time down there than I should, but I actually really, I think it's an important part of our community. I You know, I don't wanna see people without beds or a place to have a meal and get warmed up, and so it was important to me.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, though. Okay, so, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. There's no bylaws for consideration. And we have, a notice of motion from Counselor Cashel. Did you want to read your notice of motion out?
Apparently
We
that's
can't
protocol.
debate it.
Thank you, Mary Jo, through the chair. I've been given some instruction by Ms. Butler that I'm going to introduce this motion, which will be returning to council in 2 weeks for what might be a robust, lively debate.
Ooh,
I know, right? This is the first time that we've exercised this notice of motion. So the topic is temporary emergency warming center. You got a member of the press here. I didn't have an extra copy. How lucky are you? So of course, I'm introducing it today, Councillor Nick Cashel, the regular council meeting. It will be returning to the March 10th regular council meeting for the debate. As introduction, I'd like to say Mayor Jones, Tammy McLean, and all the volunteers deserve our thanks and appreciation for operating our temporary emergency warming center here in Trail, BC. This warming center is only activated when Environment Canada announces a temperature of -10 Celsius or less. The Canada Safety Council does report that wind, wet, and cold are the key factors leading to hypothermia, and it can actually happen at 10 degrees Celsius or less. So far this winter season, the warming center has operated 18 nights, including 12 consecutive nights, and is run by volunteers and some paid staff. It averaged 28 people per night and had a total of 1,224 visits. This is not considered to be a sustainable model, recognizing volunteer burnout with health and safety concerns for both volunteers and center guests. Trail is a service hub for approximately 20,000 people, which includes 5 municipalities and is the home of the area's only homeless shelter, which has been at its 25-bed capacity since opening in August of 2024. Local housing advocates report that approximately 35 individuals currently live rough on our streets, and this number is expected to grow. Our federal and provincial governments must be held accountable and responsible for our current housing crisis. The motion is as follows. Whereas a November 2nd, 2023 report released by the Canadian Human Rights Commission shows a new housing analysis completed by the Office of the Federal Housing Advocate found that Canada is missing 4.4 million homes that are affordable to people in housing need. And whereas the mandate of the Federal Ministry of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities is to build resilient and inclusive communities by providing funding and advice for locally designed and delivered housing and homelessness initiatives, as well as new and upgraded infrastructure. And whereas our provincial Ministry of Housing and Municipalities has a similar mandate and is responsible for providing British Columbians access to affordable, safe, and appropriate housing. Be it resolved that council send a letter to Minister Ravi Kahlon, Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, demanding that a temporary warming center be established in Trail on a yearly basis from December the 1st to April the 1st between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. to be operated and managed by paid qualified staff, and that all costs associated to its operation be covered by our provincial and federal partners. And further, that a copy of the letter be sent to Steve Morissette, our local MLA, and the Honorable Nate Erskine Smith, Federal Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. Thank you, Mary Jones.
okay, thank you, Councillor Cashel. So our next meeting is on March the 10th, 2025 for the committee of the whole, and that begins at, oh, we don't know, but the regular council meeting will begin at 6 o'clock. Is there any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry, was a little bit ago, just circling back to kind of the, trends that like are impacting small businesses. Is there any specific issues, besides like the tariffs, that are kind of affecting small businesses? Cause I know online shopping can be a little bit of a problem, Amazon and stuff of that nature. Is there any, I guess, programs in place to kind of mitigate?
Immediately. Well, I can tell you that they are doing a Shop Canada, Shop Local program. And that is what they're really, really working on right now. They don't want, people to be shopping online. Hopefully they can, buy local and support the small businesses in their community, and that's what they're concerned about. Once the tariffs hit, it will affect the, economic development, it'll affect jobs, because that, we don't know what the number is yet. But, yeah, that's a real concern right now.
And would that be something, I guess, would that be more for the, District of Commerce, like a program through there? Okay.
Yeah, what we're looking at, what they are setting up right now is the ability to do roundtables with the business community and each small community. But that's plans for the future that will be coming down the road in a bit.
Yeah.
What that looks like, not 100% sure yet. Just understand that this is my third meeting that I've been to, so I don't have a lot of information, and I'm trying to gather as much as I can to be able to share it with the community.
No, thank you for that, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Your worship, we do have one person attending,
Oh,
via Zoom, and I would ask that if that person attending wishes to ask a question, to please use the raise hand function at this time. Seeing no hand raised.
Stop.
okay, so if there's no questions, then I will call for adjournment. Counselor Wilson and Counselor Benson, all those in favor? Thank you, that was carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome.